the DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, The Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Saturday edition of the Breakfast Bankroll. It's May 6th. It's Kentucky Derby Saturday. It's Hat Day. It is Dave Sharapan, sports booking Siglier's. It's got to be his national holiday. And so I'm going to the Bahamas. I'm digging deep. I pull up the full bucket hat, because this bucket hat I'm going to turn upside down, and I'm going to be collecting the cash as we hit the Kentucky Derby. As I said earlier yesterday, wake up again today, another scratch. I said there's more scratches than a damn cat fight. What's going on here in these stables as we get closer to the Run for the Roses? Right around 6:45 my time back east, 3:45 out in Vegas. And today we're blessed and honored. Good friend, good colleague, Mr. Sean Alvarez. We call him Mr. Smooth. As he will come in, he will break down what's going on in Kentucky. He will give us his pace. And usually what happens is around 6:47, we're going to cash a couple tickets. So hope everyone's got their pen, their pads, their cup of coffee, their mimosas, their bloodies, whatever you need to get jump started, because I know Sean will do that for us. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Sean Alvarez.
Hey, Jeff, I appreciate you having me on. I love that you saved the hat until you actually went live. Kind of threw me off a little bit, but I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, it's race day. It's big time races, and we know it's just a matter of hitting the secretary, get a hold of Sean. We got the Derby this week, the Preakness in 2 weeks, your birthday, and 3 weeks later we will be ready for the Belmont. Hopefully someone will be running for a Triple Crown. Before we get started, how you been? What's been going on?
Fantastic. Actually flew into San Diego late last night to play in a contest for this Derby. So I'm excited for the day, and everything's leading up to today. So let's cash, like you said, let's cash some tickets. Let's turn that hat upside down and collect those monies, collect those bills.
Absolutely. Shout out to TJ. Shout out to Connor. Good morning, guys. Yes, woke up this morning, feet hit the ground. That means we got an opportunity, 24 hours to make a difference. And Sean's here to make that difference. A lot of stuff going on this past week leading up to the race today. Again, wake up this morning, the favorite Forte scratched. There's been a handful of scratches leading up to today. There's been, I guess, a few deaths in the barn. Give us what has transpired this last week at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, I mean, I won't dig into too much about what happened with Safi Joseph, but there's some investigations going on with Churchill in the state of Kentucky into what's going on in his barn. And while that investigation is going on, his horse, he's technically suspended. So all of his horses were scratched. We also had Practical Move scratched with the fever, Skinner scratched as well. And then, like you said, Forte scratched this morning. So it's definitely been a matter of each day that you're waking up and going through the day, you're kind of scrambling and going through the form and making sure that either your horses have scratched or maybe some pace of the race is scratched. So it's kind of been a matter of, making sure everything's, dialed in and whatnot. So here we are. We started with 23 horses in the field with 3 also eligibles, and now we've got an 18 horse field. I don't know that we haven't had 20 horses in the starting gate since I've kind of been following horses. So it's definitely going to be an interesting day, but I'm looking forward to it.
As you said, we were talking last night about the race with Jim Miller on Sports Map Radio, and the unexpected happened. As you said, 3 horses waiting in the wings, quote unquote, in the barn, no pun intended, all of a sudden are in the race. So we're back to 20. And then, as you said, 18 to start tonight. Oh, this afternoon, late this afternoon, your time. The gates, because I'm looking right here, you have a 21, 22, and 23. So their actual posts, they stick and stay there even with the scratches, correct?
So everybody's going to move down a gate. So 21, 22, and 23 will technically be 16, 17, and 18 in the starting gate. They'll still wear the same saddle cloths, but everybody will just move down. You don't stay in the same gate. It's just, you just move down a spot.
Okay. So it's not like growing up when we used to bet on the dogs. The 7 was in the 7, the 8 was in the 8. These guys just moved down one, and then they just open the gates. Okay. See, lesson learned already today, Sean. Give us, before we dig deep here, because everyone's anxiously awaiting your selections, and you know, with all these scratches, you know, you might have had a gem on your hands, and next thing you know, scratch. Now everyone is eyeing your horse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just part of racing. We understand that. But can you give us some of the prep races, some of what transpired to get to Kentucky, some of the horses that did well, and maybe some of your futures? I know you and I have talked at length before about futures in January and February, some that we had our eyes on that just didn't have a good spring, that didn't make it to the Derby.
Yeah, I mean, I won't dig too much into the futures, because mainly just because I'm not, I don't have the boots on the ground sitting with the trainers. I don't know what they're eyeing and what they're looking for next, kind of thing. As far as prep races go, I think the 2 biggest prep races that I was looking at was the Florida Derby, which obviously the favorite is coming out of that that scratch this morning, the Forte. I thought Mage looked fantastic in that race. And so we might see a Florida Derby prep winner come out of that. Obviously, Mage is going to be 15-1. We're going to see a little bit of money coming in on that horse because of the favorite. If you liked that Derby prep, obviously you're going to go to that second place horse, which is going to be Mage, or even Cyclone Mischief. It was the 3rd place horse in that race. The next race that I looked at as a big prep race, that is usually always a big prep race, but usually because it's a Baffert horse coming out of it, was the Santa Anita Derby. The winner of that race, the 10 Practical Move, did scratch, but now we're getting Mandarin Hero coming in from the also eligible. So there are a few Derby preps that I'm kind of looking at going into this race, but really, I mean, I think 4 of the horses that scratched coming into today are coming out of big prep races. So there's not a lot of prep races that we can dive into, mainly because of what we spoke about. There's so many scratches and so many Kentucky Derby prep winners that have scratch going into today. So it's kind of putting us on our heads and making us think and dig in a little bit deeper.
I'm going to try to do something here. Maybe this will help. Maybe it won't. Bear with me, guys. Let me see if it works. If it does, we will use it. If it doesn't, so we won't. Let's see here. Let me see if I can. All right, there we go. At least people can see the names there. I don't have the odds in front of me. Here is currently straight from the Kentucky Derby page. Everyone from start to finish, you can see the scratches here. Obviously, Skinner, Practical Move, Forte, Lord Miles, and Continuar. with now the 21, 22, 23. So what I'm going to do right now, Sean, is the stage is yours. You can walk us through any way you want to break this down and give us your thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just kind of go through, from starting from the one post on what I think about the horses. There is a lot to like about the one hit show. Even coming in at 30-1, the horse ran a really good race in the last race out at Aqueduct in the Wood Memorial. Only lost by a nose to Lord Miles, who's now scratched out of the Derby. My main thing with the horse is, you're going to hear a lot about it. It's just the post position. Coming from the rail, even though we don't have 20 horses, we still have 18. It's gonna be a lot of horses and jockeys coming into this horse vying for position. I'm not sure he can trip out from the rail. So basically, from the post position, I'm kind of tossing that horse. The two verifying, based on Jeff, you and I spoke about it yesterday. Based on how the track is playing, you really want to be up and vying for the lead, at least being in contact with those pace setters. So the two verifying, Tyler's running a really good Churchill Downs meet, at least going into this weekend. I don't think he's going to stick around with Churchill, but he's winning races at Churchill. He knows the track. He's going to be in contact with the lead. I do like the two verifying, at least to kind of round out your exacta or your trifecta if you don't like the horse to win. The three two fills, kind of the same thing. Turf ran a really good race at Turfway in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And it is Larry Ravelli's first Kentucky Derby mount. Same with Jareth Loveberry. But if he kind of comes back to that, I feel like we're gonna see a good effort. I'm not huge in confidence game. I don't have a lot to say. He ran a really good workout recently, but I don't love the horse. Tapper Trice, this one's going to be interesting. He has tactical speed to be up and near the lead, but for some reason, this horse just doesn't like the rail. Every race, he wants to swing out wide. Even in workouts, they swing him out wide. I feel like he shies away from the rail. And coming from the 5 path, I just don't think this horse is going to trip out very well. I started liking this horse earlier, but based on how this horse is going to trip out, I just don't think swallowing those type of odds, especially with Forte now being out of the field, this is going to be a horse that I'm probably going to play against, at least on top. I did like this horse earlier in the week, but the more and more you look at the trip that this horse is going to get, I don't think that this horse is going to be what I'm going to land on as far as the win odds go. The 6 Kingsbarn is interesting. He's got a lot of tactical speed. He can set the pace. I don't think he's going to be on the pace. But what's interesting to me is this horse is 3 for 3. He's never lost a race. He's only raced three times. He's won 3 times. Flavian rode this horse last time out. So Flavian Pratt had, in my opinion, and I don't know, granted, maybe Todd Pletcher went to Jose Ortiz and wanted him to ride, but my thought is Flavian rode last time out, won by 3 lengths going away. You would think you would get Flavian back. Flavian chose to ride elsewhere. I'm sorry. So it's kind of interesting on that note. And then the more you dig into this horse's last 3 races, he does his best running in his 3rd and 4th panel. So the 3rd quarter, the 4th quarter of the race, that's when he tends to run his best race, when he's getting into stride. So, we talk a lot about there might not be a lot of pace in this race, but I feel like with this horse, and we'll get into the Japanese horse later, a lot of their best running is in the 3rd and 4th panel. So we might not get quick fractions early, but I feel like the 6 and maybe the 17 later that I'll dive into, I feel like they might pressure the pace setters in that 3rd and 4th panel, as opposed to in the 1st and 2nd that we saw last year with Rich Strike coming up when they went 22 and 44. I don't think we're going to get those fractions, but that's the 6 I feel like is going to play into my favor with the horses that I like later. The 7 Reincarnate, I've got absolutely nothing good to say. The 8 Mage we spoke about earlier with Forte scratching the favorite. He ran a huge race in the Florida Derby, actually made first run and struck the lead. And then the favorite of this race that scratched Forte actually came back and put his head in front. So I think there's a lot to like about the 8 Mage. The 9 Skinner scratched, 11 Disarm. I've got nothing good to say. The only thing I've got to say about the 12 Jace's Road is probably going to be the pace setter. Also tends to have a little bit of gate issues, not from breaking the gate, but going into the gate. So this is kind of, it's not necessarily a handicapping issue, but definitely a horse that might cause gate issues when we're trying to load 18 horses into the gate. Some people like Sun Thunder. I don't see anything into this horse's past races that make me want to bet this horse. The 14 Angel of Empire I really like. Now he's going to end up being the favorite. So we gotta see what we can do to end up with a price. But ran a really good race in the last race at the Arkansas Derby in Oaklawn. Flavian chooses to stay on. I felt like not only did he make a really good move going into the turn, but he stayed on and ran away from the field. And that's kind of what you want to see with a horse that's stretching out from 1 1/8 to 1 1/4 that we're going to see today. Obviously, the 15 scratch, the 16 raised cane. I've got nothing to say. Good to say. Dermasotagaki, the 17. A lot of people like this horse. He ran a really good race in Dubai in the UAE Derby. I'm not big on curses, so to say. No Japanese horse has ever won the Kentucky Derby. I believe it's 18 starts, so they're 0-18. This horse has gone from Japan to Dubai, now to Kentucky. I'm not saying the horse isn't talented, but he's got a lot of travel in him, and those are some of the holes that I punch in form. So I'm not gonna bet on a horse that's gone through so much travel and is going to be short odds. So for that reason alone, I'm not loving the 17. I just feel like maybe he's going to make a move. He's going to make a middle move. And I just think that maybe there's not going to be a lot left in the tank. So I'll kind of skip down to the next horse that I like. I really like the 22 Mandarin Hero that scratches in from the also eligible list. We talked about the Santa Anita Derby proving to tend to be a good prep race going into the Kentucky Derby. Now we get Skinner and Practical Moon scratched it. Mandarin Hero, he didn't have necessarily a bad trip. I would scratch out that bump start in the past performances. It wasn't necessarily a bump start, but he split rivals going into the stretch. It was really close quarters, and he was gunning down Practical Move. If it was 1 1/8 1 1/4 in the Santa Anita Derby, Mandarin Hero would probably be in the full field, not having to scratch in and win that race. He passed Practical Move after the wire. Now, granted, after the wire doesn't count, doesn't matter, but I mean, he looked really good going into that stretch. And like I said, he split rivals. A lot of horses shy away from that.
Nope.
A lot of horses shy away from that. It's really tight quarters, talking, 1,200, 1,400 pound animals that you want to try and split. It's not necessarily a positive thing. And for him to do that and do it well, I think there's a lot to like about the 22 Mandarin Hero. And I think that I also don't have a lot to say about King Russell. So I think that sums up what I think about the field.
Okay, so now for the novice, for the general public, and the expert like yourself, it's funny listening to some of the people. Now I grew up at tracks. I grew up at dog tracks. I grew up at horse tracks, and so if you know the lingo, you know the lingo. And then if you don't understand, you got guys up there running doing powers. Yeah, give me the 5-6, 5-6 with the 3-4-8 with the 3-4-8 with the 1-2, 1-2, and people are looking at you like, what? Try keys, exactas, quinellas, and people's heads are blowing up. Pick 5, 6s, daily doubles. Give all the people watching and listening how you can get them to the window. How should they play this race, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, so my top pick is the 14. If you want to play a win bet, that would probably where I would be. Granted, we've now scratched into being the favorite, and it's probably going to stay that way. So just to kind of spice things up a little bit, I really like a couple prices. So I'm going to play a little small trifecta, or I'm sorry, an exacta. For $1, it will only cost you $12. So you can add horses where you like, add an opinion. If you like Dermo Sadagaki, add them if you like. This kind of affords you to add your own opinion. So if you're going to the window, it's going to be race Churchill Downs, race 12. I want $1 exacta, 8, 14, and 22 with the 3, the 5, the 8, the 14, and the 22.
All right. So you're going to Churchill Downs, race 12, $1 exacta, 8, 14, 22 with 3, 5, 8, 14, 22.
Yep. Should cost you $12.
And that's a $12 punch. So what you're basically saying to everyone that doesn't understand this, either the 8, the 14, or the 22 have to win. And then 3, 5, 8, 14, 22, one of those 5 horses has to run second. And then you will get an exacta. You will get, if the exacta paid $100, you would get 50.
I mean, yeah, I hate the NBC coverage. They do like $2. They show the $2 will pays everywhere. If you're on an ADW, they're showing you exactly whatever the base wager was. So if the base wager is $1, you're getting the $1. Yeah. So, I mean, if they're showing the $2 will pays, you just cut that in half. That's what you're going to collect. So, and really, like I said, I really like the 14, but if we can get the 8 Mage or the 22 Mandarin Hero up top, we're talking probably a lot more than $100.
Okay. So 14, if someone wanted to go to the window and do some win places, 14 is the selection, correct?
I mean, it's my top pick. So okay. It's the horse that I think is going to win the race. It's the horse that I fell in love with Forte in the race when I was going to get a little bit better of a price with Practical Move in the race at 10-1. So it's not the price that I want to swallow, but you know, I'm not going to sit here and red board myself and jump on another pick. If you like a price, if you want a price, I do like the 8 and the 22 to win. But if you want my top pick, I really do like Angel of Empire, the 14. But unfortunately, I think that we're going to scratch into being the favorite.
And I'm going to, before we wrap up here, I think this is important. Let me see if I can do this. There we go, man. Who needs a producer right here? That is a hard thing. You went to bed. I already knew where you were leaning. You sent me the text last night when I asked you. Thank you so much, by the way. And you wake up in the morning and there's another scratch. And now you're the favorite. And then, you know, you get the naysayers, anyone can pick a favorite. You don't, the favorite doesn't win in the Kentucky, blah, 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 blah. The fact of the matter is that you didn't just wake up on Friday and throw a dart here, throw a dart here. You do extensive work. Now you're the favorite. And not because, bags and bags of money started rolling in on him, because of circumstances. Stick to the script, but in the same token, you're saying, oh man, now we're the favorite, we're the hunted. Give me the mind, that this now plays with you.
Well, I mean, for me, it's more pace. I hate to say it, I hate to make the pun, but for me, pace makes the race. Forte coming from the back doesn't affect the pace for me. The pace for the race is still kind of in the same ballpark. So scratching towards the favorite and having to swallow that price, yeah, maybe you have to pivot a little bit and try to catch something, underneath. Or like I said, I do actually really like Mage and Mandarin Hero. So maybe they'll upset it a little bit, but it's still the Kentucky Derby. I believe right now, Angel of Empire's 9-2. So that's 4.5 to 1. It's still 4.5 times your money. So it's not like you're swallowing, an 8 to 5 price, an even money price. I mean, you and I both know, betting on sports, usually a favorite's minus 250, minus 200, 4.5 to 1 times your money is still a good offer. If you really like the horse, go at it. It's still not a bad price. I still like this horse, probably down to 3 to 1 based on this field now. So, granted, we haven't spoke about it, but the whole reason I'm in San Diego is playing in a contest. So, it's going to come down to going into the Derby and looking at that leaderboard and looking at whatever's left in my bankroll and firing at what I need to do to win the contest. So it is a live bankroll. So I'm not just throwing money at the wall and seeing what sticks, but, and I do go home with whatever I win or lose. So, but you just have to look at your work. Like he said, it's been a week long, if not months of looking at this field and looking at these horses, and don't just choose another horse because you don't like the odds. Stick with your gut, stick with the process. It's like in sports betting, if you go 0-8 in sports betting, do you change your process? Probably not, right? You're waiting for the next one to hit, waiting for that next streak. So stick with your process, stick with what got you here. So and go with your gut.
Well, it's now, I think it is like 11 o'clock as we speak here. And let me see here, 14 plus 4. That looks about right, TJ. Yes. We can't thank you enough. You got a contest, and it's only 8 o'clock. We've been talking since, 7:30 a.m., Sean. So as always, we can't thank you enough. We're going to circle back the wagons in 2 weeks to talk about the Preakness. We wish you nothing but the best of luck today in the contest. Everyone on Twitter, if you're not following, please go over to Twitter, Sean Alvarez at Smooth Turn 2. Follow him. Guess what? He'll follow you back. You got a question or two? He actually answers those questions back. Nicest guy in the world. I was blessed and honored to meet him a few years ago back up at the Westgate. Look forward to seeing you this fall before football. And hey, Sean, best of luck today. Go get him, will you?
I appreciate it, Jeff. I got my Luck and Gambling shirt on just in case.
Thank you to TJ. Thank you to Connor. Thank everyone watching and listening today. In about 1 hour, 15 minutes, Zaid Hussein will be in. We're going to talk some UFC 286. Till then, go grab a coffee, go grab what you need, and we'll catch you guys real soon.